also raise your hand, and we'll be taking some questions that way as well. Just so that you know, please be aware that the presentation is being recorded today for those who were unable to make it. So our presenter is a recruiting specialist and a career strategist in the media sector. Michelle Nadon is also an author. Her book is called Careers AF with an exclamation mark, and AF is capitalized. And yes, it does mean what you think it means. It's actually her second edition of the book, and she subtitles it New Rules and New Tools for the Post-Pandemic Gig. Michelle is going to be joining us today from her home north of Toronto that she often shares with a collection of special needs pets, which is her other passion. So join me in welcoming Michelle Nadon. Good afternoon.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Dan. It's really an honor to be here. I'm delighted to have been invited back to Algonquin to share some of this truly radically changed media labor market. And it's a wonderful opportunity. I really thank you and your team for making this available, and for making it available to the students who really aren't terribly aware of all the changes that have been taking place. And the good news is, despite all of the changes in the pandemic and all of the hardship and the stop and go gig economy, you're going to find out today that there is actually a whole heck of a lot that you can do. Each individual, doesn't matter what age or stage you're at, there's a lot that you can do to set yourself up for success when it comes to representing your skills and your knowledge in the marketplace and getting meaningful and gainful work. So we're going to start today with just a small breakdown of the top 5 mistakes that one can make with their career. And this is really important because I don't think that a lot of outlets, recruiters or hiring managers and whatnot will share these with you. But I think this is really important background information to have. So, and before I get started on that, I do want to encourage you all, please take notes. Get your questions in if you want to get a question in. I am a huge fan of maintaining career journals. I have always got a journal at the ready, on the go, and I put all of my career notes in here, and I have largely for most of my adult life. And you would never believe, A, how cool it is to be able to go back to a certain year and look back on what you did and say, oh my God, did that really happen? Yeah, it sure did. But B, many times in my career professionally, I have taken notes and I've supplied them for clients or to clients on various topics that they're asking about. And I charge handsomely for my notes. So this is an awesome little passive income strategy in and of itself. So do take notes, and let's dive in. 5 biggest mistakes you can make with careers. The very first mistake that a lot of people make, probably 80% of the labor market makes, is that they have this perspective. A career is not something that you take care of only unless you're actually in trouble and your back is against a wall. Okay. Now, you wouldn't treat your car that way. You wouldn't go around town for months on end in a car or years on end in a car without giving it maintenance, right? Well, the big idea with managing your career is that it does require maintenance. And I like to do the really heavy lifting on my career on my birthday, which is when I take an opportunity every single year of my adult life. And I write down a brand new goals wish list. And I go through all of my marketing tools. And I make sure that I am completely set up and ready to go for the next year. So careers should be taken care of on an organic basis. But also, if you just remember to use your birthday to get yourself set up for the coming year, it will make a substantive difference in what you're actually able to achieve. Now, mistake number 2 is job seekers do not do enough research on or background research on the companies that they want to join. Now, those of us who've been in industry, 20 years or so, certainly we can look back on a job that we got that ended up being, let's say, less than stellar, okay? Or a downright nightmare in some instances. Well, for my own self, I did that once. I took a job on, this is about 20 years ago, maybe 25. And I jumped for the title. I wanted that title more than I wanted that job. And I did not research the company. And I spent 2 years in, well, it was hell, I must say. And had I researched the company, the information is all over the internet. You can find it through glassdoor.ca. You can go onto LinkedIn, do searches for companies, check out the people in the company, keep going down the list. You'll get to the former employees. You can connect with former employees of a given company through LinkedIn and ask them for their feedback. There's innumerable ways that you can get that information on a company now. You want to know that the company is solid financially. There are ways to find that out. And you also want to know if the company is sustainable. Does it have good values? Does it have good business ethics? These are all things that people neglect to do. You get a job posting, it lands on your desk, you're all excited, you glance through it, you think, oh yeah, I've got this. Boom, you jump on your computer and you apply. And that's probably about as much thought as you give to it on the front end. So that is a super huge mistake to make, is to not do your diligence on the company that you actually want to join. Mistake number 3. This is my pet peeve, the biggest pet peeve of them all. Job seekers do not take the time to script and rehearse their approaches to hiring managers, okay? On my desk, I always have a stack of recyclable paper, that I'm using the other side of. And before I make a call or make any move, I'm always making notes. And I'm going to make a note on my introduction. I'm going to make a note on my on the context of the call. I'm going to make a note on the qualifications or the skills that I'm bringing to the table. I'm going to make a very clear ask. And then I'm going to tip the end of the call towards next steps. And I'm going to try to control the next steps. So this is something that you can do for yourself in your job search, is just make those notes before you talk to a hiring manager for a potential job, okay? Having those notes there will make you feel quite a lot more confident. And also, because you're confident and you're organized, that's going to make the decision maker have confidence in you, which is the sweet spot, okay? When they have confidence in you, when they want you, well, lots of good things. A, you're being seriously considered for the job. And when they really want you, please note also, they will really pay for you. So it behooves you to script and then rehearse your approach to the hiring manager before you make that call. And it's going to make all the difference in how you deliver it. And it's also going to make all the difference in how well it's received on the other side. The fourth biggest mistake that job seekers make, and God bless them, they don't know the difference, okay, is that a job seeker doesn't make a business case when they're applying for a job. Now, if you are going to remember anything I tell you in the course of my entire lifetime, this is the top of the heap. This is the gold, okay? You learn to train yourself to answer 4 small questions for any job that you're applying to. You want to be able to say, why would they hire me uniquely? You want to be able to say, why would they hire me now in particular? As in, it fits into my career plan, I have one. You want to be able to address why this role, or what role you want to play. And then you also want to address, why do you want to work with this company, which harkens back to the research about the company in the first place. Your business case is one of the greatest magic bullets there is. A business case can be used as an elevator pitch. It can be used in a screening call. It can and should be definitely used in the interview. And it can also, a mini version of it can be included in your thank you note. The why me, why now, why this role, why this company tells the decision maker that you've really done your homework and that you have your act together and that you're applying at the right time for the right reasons. And again, that level of confidence just can't be bought. So by all means, please remember your business case. Why me? Why now? What role? Why this company? And that goes for every single company you are pursuing. You do that, you are going to look like a star. And in so doing, when you deliver your business case, you're actually telling them why they should hire you instead of throwing in the kitchen sink and hoping that they do the math. You do the math beforehand and then just deliver it. So that is an absolutely awesome thing. And from here going forward, I really hope you remember, if anything, just this nugget alone, to write up your business case before you approach someone. And then if you script it and rehearse it, you're even better. Now, the last biggest mistake that people make when it comes to their careers is personally very, very, very meaningful to me, because I did not know I was doing this back in my career when I was doing it, but job seekers are not taught or encouraged to invest in their own development, okay? Now, when we're talking about investing in our own development, we are talking time and we're talking money, okay? Do you want to go out there with a bio that you've written, that you've been using for the last 5 years without changing it? Or do you want to go and pay a professional to write a bio for you? My answer, I will pay to have a professional write a bio for me, okay? They can always see things in me that I can't see in myself. Similarly, years ago, there was this huge program. I was going to die of happiness if I could get into that program. It was an executive program put on by the Banff Media Festival. And I went to my mentor at the time, because I was smart enough to have a mentor. And I said to him, you know, I want that so bad. I can't stand it. And he said, well, apply. And I said, well, I can't. It's $4,000 to get in, and I don't have 4,000. And he said to me quite cleverly, he said, you're not even in the program yet. Worry about the money later. Apply. So I thought, he's right. So I applied. Didn't I get into the program? I was one of 2 juniors in a room full of executive broadcasting presidents. Okay. This was a big program. And it was one of the toughest weeks in my life, I'll tell you. But anyway, once I got in, I was so proud of myself. I thought, well, that's it. I'm getting a loan. Like I'm just going to do it. Okay. So I went out and I got my loan and I attended the program. I will tell you, 10 years later, when I left the industry to form Media Intelligence, all 30 of those executives in that program came to me automatically as clients, because of the relationships we were able to build and the relationships that we maintained after the program. So investing in yourself is really critical. And then I got the last laugh on the subject, because I found out at the end of the day when I did my taxes that year that my $4,000 went to a quote unquote charitable organization, and I was able to claim 50% of it on the back end. So you never know what's going to happen out there. But if you don't invest time and if you don't invest money in yourself, you're not going to grow and transform. and your knowledge is going to expand, and you're not going to see the larger opportunities in the industry as you move through it. So those are the 5 big mistakes that I really encourage people to be aware of, pay attention to, make notes, and avoid them, so that you can save yourself a whole heck of a lot of trouble out there in the marketplace. Now, the big picture on careers. First of all, as I like to frighten all of my students when I take classes, I say to you, it really is a good idea for you to get good at job search, okay? Because when you think about it, you're actually going to be looking for work for the rest of your life. Even if you're in a job and you're comfortable, okay, and there's no chance that you're going to be gotten rid of, I will put money on the fact that you're still looking at other jobs out there just in case, right? So doesn't it make sense to get good at looking for a job? I mean, really develop like a methodology around going out and looking for a job. It just makes sense. Now, another aspect of the big picture on careers is that I tend to break careers down into sort of 5-year pockets, okay? 1 to 5 years is commonly referred to as entry level, all right? And that's 1 to 5 years. That's the day you leave college to 5 years, all right? From 5 to 10 years, you've actually transitioned into mid-management, except of course, nobody will ever tell you that, because they don't want you to know that you're in mid-management, because they don't want you to ask for more money, right? But that is indeed what you're doing. Between 5 and 10 years equals mid-management. And it's also lovely to recognize that and to be able to refer to yourself as either an entry-level person who is preparing for mid-management jobs, or a mid-management individual who is transitioning or who wants to transition to a senior level job. Now, 10 to 15 years, that's usually senior management. Most senior managers in any given business unit are going to have between 10 and 15 years. And anything above 15 years is executive management. So it's just really good to know that. So because, you know, I remember back in the day when I was young and I was experimenting, I was in my 20s, and, you know, I was in a company, I got hired as a production coordinator. I'm there 3 months and I want to be a producer, and I'm in my boss's office asking for it. Okay. Well, I got laughed out. I got laughed out of the room, or chuckled out of the room. Okay. You have to put in your time. And when recruiters are out there recruiting, okay, I'm going to ask you what your skills are. And then I'm going to ask you about a particular skill. And when I do, in an interview situation, I want to know how long you've done that skill. If you've only got 1 year versus another person who has 6 years in the skill, that makes a lot of difference. So it's the amount of time that really is important. And you need to put in that time to understand the scope of the job and perform well in it in order to be moved up the ranks. So do pay attention to those 5-year increments, and it will help you position yourself properly for when you want to transition to a new level, okay? And then another little sidebar just for today's purposes. I am a media professional. I have been working in media all of my adult life. And I love media. I really love it. I don't like the production end. I like the business end. But I absolutely love media. But I want you to understand very clearly that the practices that I'm going to be teaching you or speaking about today are not just for media, okay? This could apply to the finance sector, the health sector, the educational sector. They are all simply job search best practices. Now, how do we feel good in the first place about going out and looking for a job? Well, we're going to start with our little career journal, okay? We're going to get a career journal, and we're going to sit down, and we're going to write a nice a list for ourselves, okay? And it's called the accomplishments list, all right? And all you have to do is go back. You decide how many years, 5 years, 10 years, okay? You know, if you're 20 years old, you can go back at least 5 years. If you're 25, you can go back 10, and so on and so on. But I want you to go back and cast your mind back to each one of those years. Okay. When I'm coaching individuals through my practice, I always tell them to go back to the year that they left home. Okay. And went out on their own. And then I say to them, I want you to go through each year uniformly. And I want you to just try to remember what you might have accomplished in that given year. Like in 1980, when I was 20 years old, I wanted to move to Toronto, and I did. That was a huge accomplishment. 5 years later, I wanted to take on this, I wanted to actually learn how to play guitar. So I taught myself to play guitar. Monster life accomplishment. Okay. The other year, the professional development course that I wanted so badly. In more recent years, you know, creating content. Go back through each year and write up a list of whatever you think is an accomplishment of yours. And if anybody wants to throw some accomplishments into the chat bar, please do, because they're important. And when you write up a comprehensive list, when you take a really good look, okay, at your own background, you're going to find those good things that you did. And now you're going to have them in a list. And all of a sudden you're looking at your list and you're going like, wow, I've got 12 accomplishments. Or I've got 20 accomplishments. Or good heavens, I've got 30 accomplishments. Well, that is really self-affirming, because in case you haven't noticed, when you're going through life, people don't ever really recognize you for your accomplishments. I mean, your family will celebrate your graduation and whatnot, but people don't go around all the time saying, hey, that was a great article, that first op-ed you wrote back in 2000, right? But I know I wrote my first op-ed back in 2000, and that was a huge accomplishment to me. So when I got to the bottom of my list, I think I wrote my full list out. I was taught to write it out when I was about 45 years old. And when I got to the bottom of my accomplishments list, I had absolutely, there's no way I could deny how accomplished I actually was. And so I'm encouraging you to keep track of your accomplishments, because it's going to give you a lot more self-esteem as you walk out into the marketplace. Now we get to the piece of career management, 3 steps to career management. Write up your goals, or organize all of your marketing tools, and then we're going to go in deep on job search. Okay. Now, the first thing is your goals. Everybody has goals in their head, but the true winners in the goal game are going to be the people who write their goals down. Because if they're just circling around your head, they're only in short-term memory, and you'll think of it 6 months from now, or you'll think of it on your, next year when it comes time for New Year's resolutions. But then you won't think about your goals in between then. You're just going to be out there being reactive to the marketplace instead of proactive by writing up your goals. Okay. So we have a little cheat sheet, which I'm going to share with you here at Media Intelligence. And this is a brilliant quote. Writing down my career plan showed me that my goals were achievable. All that I had to do was to be systematic in pursuing them. It's possible to put my dreams into action. I see my career now as more as of a series of ongoing tasks. That's basically what it is. So goals, the goals exercise is here. It's on the front page of my website in the menu. You can go there and access it and write down your goals for the year. And I encourage you to write down an approximate 12 goals. I want personal goals, professional goals, health and wellness goals, balance goals, relationship goals, the whole broad base of your human experience. I want you to give some serious thought to your goals, and I want you to write them down, okay? Writing them down helps them go into your long-term memory, and it makes them that much more real just by virtue of writing them down. And then once you have them written down, and it doesn't matter what they are, if you always wanted to be Prime Minister of Canada, write it down. It's okay, all right? Just get that stuff out of your head and onto a list. Then you go through your list when it's written up. and you go through each item. And on a scale of 1 to 10, you ask yourself, how much do I really want this? And it's like writing my book. Oh, that's a 10. Okay. Learning guitar at the time. Oh, that's a 5. All right. So you assign an actual weight to each one of your goals, and then you put them into descending order. So now you know clearly what your priorities are and what your, wannabe items are. Okay. And then if you bring,
Michelle,
yeah.
Michelle, I'm just going to interrupt you there because you're not sharing your screen. Were you showing visuals here too?
Oh, I am.
Okay,
I
I
am.
thought maybe you thought that you were, but okay.
Thank you. Thank
No
you.
problem. I thanks to a couple of people in the chat where they're just asking to share the
I'm
link, and I
so sorry.
realized that no
I'm
worries.
so sorry. I'm really not good at technology. All
Oh
right.
boy,
Sorry.
that doesn't sound good.
Well, just like these aspects, just flipping back and forth. I mean, I can create all the stuff, but anyway, I am a little bit challenged with that. So here we
Okay.
are in terms of, can everybody see the goals list now?
Yes, it's not full screen, but we can see it. Yes.
Okay. It's not full screen.
We can see part of your desktop. That's all as well.
Okay. I'm not worried about the desktop, but you can see all this content in the center, correct?
Yes. Yes.
All right. So this is where you write up your goals. And for each one of your goals, you assign it a weight on a scale of 1 to 10 of how badly you want your goals. And then you just rewrite your list after you've given each one of them a weight. You rewrite your list and you put them into descending order. So you will know at a glance what your top priorities are and what your lesser priorities are in terms of your goals. So this kind of helps you get your goals under better control. And then I go further and I break my goals. Like every year on my birthday, I write mine up, a brand new list. I go one step further and I break them into short, mid, and long term. So for myself, I consider the year at hand short term, and I consider my midterm next year. What am I turning my sights towards next year? And then my long term would be more like towards my the end of this next decade. So I'll have like these bigger goals in mind and listed there. So I have my goals list. I print it up and I put it over top my computer on my bulletin board, and I look at it every day of my life. And then when it comes to the business week, I come out and I get up on Mondays, and a really good practice to get into is scheduling a half hour. Okay. Go into your calendar, have a look at your week and get it organized the way that you want it to flow. And then look at your short-term and your midterm items and get some of them into your weekly schedule. Like on Thursday at 12 noon, I want to take this goal one step further and do a little bit of research on this or on that. And that way you can continue advancing your goals. And you'll find if you use that methodology, it's really going to help you realize a lot more goals than you can even imagine in a year, simply by, excuse me, identifying your goals and then getting them into your schedule. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the schedule too. The power days for business are Monday through Wednesday, okay? That's when most people in business in Canada are at their desks, they're on fire, they're doing their jobs, they're available, etc. By Thursday, your energy starts to sort of peter out a little bit. People in offices are getting tired. They're not as proactive as they were on Monday mornings. And then on Fridays, as I like to say, in Canada, the lights are on, but nobody's home. Like not a lot of people do, a full day's work on Friday. They'll use Friday as an excuse to build in that appointment they have or what have you. So Monday through Wednesdays are the really, really great job search days. And Thursday is a great day to give yourself a bit of a break and work on your other stuff, because people in offices they're a little tired. They're probably going to be a little bit less receptive towards hearing from you. And then Fridays is an awesome day for networking and outreach. So scheduling your goals is the magic towards realizing them, but you got to write them down in the first place in order to schedule them. So that's how I handle my goals. And you know what? I will say, from doing my own goals, there isn't a year that goes by that I don't actually realize all of my goals. And it's just because I write them down and I manage them. So goals are mission critical. Can't encourage you enough to go there and get your goals done on your birthday. For me, it's a gift that I give myself every year on my birthday. I want a free mind. I don't want any company. I just want to sit and plan the next year of my life. And if you do, you're going to advance so much better and so much faster. I will next door to guarantee it. Now, I want to talk briefly about work product. Work product is anything that comes off of your desk, okay? And when I get started with my students in any given program, the very first thing I will do is I will have them sit down and open up a Word document on their desktop, okay? And I'm going to get them to put their full name in nice big block letters, whatever font they choose, at the top in the header. And, or if they have a little side hustle and they've got a company name, that's a good place where the company name can go to. And then I keep this template on my desktop at all times. And it has, the regular font that I use, the regular font size. It's got formatting that I use so that, and a full signature at the bottom with my full name, my title, my contact information. And usually in the footer, I will place a copyright mediaintelligence.ca. And that little template sits on my desktop at all times. So that anytime anyone out there asks me, can you send me something on that? I say, I sure can. And I open up my template and I start loading up whatever it is that I want to send this person. And it ends up looking like a really polished document when it's done. So just having that template at the ready can make you look so much more professional out there. And again, that's in terms of creating proposals or writing, you're going to solicit a company and you're going to send them a proposal. You're going to create a Word document with expertise in your area. You're going to create a demo reel. You're going to have electronic work samples of your work. All of these things are work product. They come off of your desk. And in case no one's mentioned it to you yet, please remember, copyright is still king. So maintain your copyright, okay? When a company asks you to bring in, go in for an interview, and they say, well, write us up, how you think that we could do better over here. Okay, I know one or two broadcasters who take that approach and have for a long time. Person who walks in with a proposal and puts it down and there's a copyright at the bottom of the sheet, they can't steal your ideas or they can't steal your story. Okay, so just having that little work product template is a very handy thing, and it comes in very useful when it comes to owning your own material. All right. So that's the big picture on careers. It's knowing where you stand. It's knowing what you stand for in terms of your values. It's knowing what your skills and accomplishments are. It's having a full idea of your goals so that you can position yourself properly. I want to be an A, B, or a C. I am a recruiter, a career strategist, and a media instructor. You want to know your ABCs of what you do. That's your positioning, okay? And your goals will help you with that. And then you want to, without fail, schedule your goals once a week. Just take little pieces of them and park them somewhere in the schedule, like on a Thursday, and to just keep advancing your goals every week. And like I said, you will be absolutely amazed at what you can do. So now we're going to jump to personal branding. I'm going to share screen. And we're going to look at the branding document. It's just going to take a minute to load because it fell off of my desktop. There we go. Now, can everybody see that quite comfortably? Okay, we good? All right. Here's a quote from someone. She said, learning about the marketing side of things is just as important as the content side. I wish I'd learned this much earlier in my career. Okay. So marketing tools, what do we mean? We mean anything and everything that you can create that can help you market yourself out there in the marketplace. So branding tools fall into two distinct categories. There's marketing tools that you use to go and get a staff job. And then there's marketing tools that you can use if you're an entrepreneur. How many of these you make is completely your call. For me, I have marketing tools for absolutely everything. So say a staff person needs a resume. That makes sense if you're going for a staff job, right? An entrepreneur doesn't necessarily need a resume, but an entrepreneur does need copy, whether it's on a website or in a Word document or what have you. He needs copy that outlines the product or the service or both that they're planning to offer. In my case, I have services, I coach, I teach, etc. But I also have product. I'm diversified and I have product. Each company will have product and services or both. Okay, so you need copy for that. It makes sense on the staff side of the equation that you need references for your job. Okay, and by the way, 3 references is not enough. We want you to have 5 at the end of the day. And if you've been coached by me, you're welcome to let me know, and I will be happy to provide a character reference for you if you've been coached by me. But on the entrepreneur side of the equation, they don't, references aren't necessary. What you need is client testimonials. You need one-liners from your clients saying how good your shop is. Okay. I would venture that both sides of the equation could use a bio. Bio usually comes in once you've got anywhere between, when you're inching up to 6-7 years in any industry, you can start justifying a bio and a biography. It's a written document with your history written in prose. Okay. And a bio is a great little tool to add to the package when you apply for a job. It makes you look really like I like to say it shows gravitas. It makes you look like a serious player. For a staff job, you've got to write a cover email. For an entrepreneur, you have to write a business introduction email. Okay, those are 2 kind of different things. In terms of social, you need a LinkedIn profile if you're going for a staff job, because all the employers are going to look you up on LinkedIn. Okay, but if you're an entrepreneur, you're probably going to be on more likely to be on the other platforms like Twitter or Insta or what have you. You will always need, going forward, hot links to electronic samples of your work. You know that famous line, have you got something you can send me? Have you got something you can show me? You need to have something you can show employers. Okay. An email signature, one of the most important things is to have an email signature on everything that comes off of your desk. Okay. People still use email. We always will. Professionals use email. Don't message me over a text. I won't even know who you are. I have no reference point. I can't file you, So an email signature is really critical. And again, it should have your name, your titles. I'm an ABC. Even if you go as far as to say I'm an aspiring camera person, or I'm a a developing author, or however you want to represent yourself. Put the words down there so that we can better guide you in attaining what it is that you want, so that we don't have to go through every inch of your resume and do the math, right? Just do the math for us up front. And then your full contact information. You need your LinkedIn profile, a hot link to it. You need a hot link to your email. Any other, if you've got a Twitter handle, definitely you will want to list it, because that will make you look cool and hip and digital, and it will show people that you have digital currency. So the email signature is super, super, super important. And as a recruiter, if I get an email that says, "Hi, Michelle, I'm applying for whatever job. Thanks kindly. I see the enclosed resume. Thanks, Sarah." And I'm like, Sarah who? Right? What's Sarah's last name? But, and if I want to get a hold of Sarah, every time I want to get a hold of her, I've got to fish through my documentation and find her resume. I can't just quickly flip through my email and there it's sitting right there. So never neglect your contact information, and know that people will get a hold of you 6 ways from Sunday. So make sure that they have some different options, not just an email or not just a telephone number. Okay, have a nice little signature block. Besides which, when you think about it, why would you lose the opportunity to brand yourself at all times? So by establishing an email signature, your brand is consistent, it looks good, your information is there, you're accessible, you're good to go. Okay. Business cards. Some people say business cards are dying. I say never. I couldn't tell you how many business cards I hand out in a given week. And that's just like in my regular life. Another piece of your branding that you're not taking care of, probably, or not taking care of to the degree possibly that you should, is your voicemail signature. It's got to be professional. It cannot be, "Hi, Sarah, leave a message." Okay. That's not the approach that you want a hiring manager. That's not the first approach a hiring manager wants to have from you. Okay. They want a nice, reasonably scripted voicemail. "Hello, you've reached Michelle Nadon, mediaintelligence.ca. It's my confidential line. Please feel free to leave a message and I will get back to you promptly. Thanks kindly." Just something like nice and welcoming that identifies you, hopefully brands you a little bit, and makes you look like you're more of a player. Okay. And then last but not least, visuals. Visuals are critically important. It's not good enough to have one picture of you to put up on LinkedIn. Okay. Your LinkedIn profile has that picture, the picture of you in a circle, and then it's got that blue background behind it. That blue background could be populated with other visuals that you've created that represent you and who you are. So, you could have a photograph in the little bubble, but then you could have more of a pan shot showing you in a work situation or in front of the backdrop at a professional conference. Okay. The moral of the story is visuals are critically important. And the sooner you develop a little library of them, the better off you're going to be going out there, because all of these pieces are really necessary. And just like the goals help position you, your marketing tools help package you. So now we've got the positioning and the packaging down. That's when you start to get some real traction with your career. That's when you stand out from the crowd, because you've done your homework, you know what you're doing a good job, and everybody else can really see it. Okay. So I do recommend that you decide, you develop and look and stick with it. It does start with your resume. That's ground zero for reinvention. So the layout of your name, your titles, or what you want to be, and your contact information, that basic block at the top of your resume should migrate over to a Word document and become your letterhead. It can migrate over to your email signature. Okay. It can migrate to the top of your bio. It can also migrate to the top of your list of references. Throw a little splash of color on your name, whatever your favorite color is, okay? And develop a small brand for yourself. And then over time, you can grow your brand and morph it, and it should grow organically along with you and your career efforts. So develop a small brand at first and then just build on it over time. But definitely, if you do those two things, the goals and the marketing tools, you will be both positioned and packaged. And that's the sweet spot to start getting some traction with job search. Okay. Resume best practice. Oh no, actually, let's go to, before we go there, let's talk about recommendations and testimonials and references. Okay, there's a difference between the three. References are what you provide an employer with just as you're finishing up the hiring process, and they want a list of past references to give a call to just get some information about you and get your former employer's perspective or your former colleagues' perspectives on what it's like to work with you. I mentioned earlier that 3 references isn't good enough. I know early in your career, it's tough to get references, so I'm happy to help on that end. I'm sure a lot of your professors would be happy to help on that end, but you want to try and provide a rule of thumb. I like to have 5 references. And so work towards getting 5 references. And the reason for that is when we're out there recruiting and we need to check references for a big falutin client who's paying us a lot of money to get this job done, sometimes there's 3 people on the list and I can only get a hold of one of them because one's traveling and the other one's offline, or heaven knows what's going on. So that's not helpful. I got to go back to my client with 3 references. That's my deliverable to my client. So give us 5. So we stand a chance of getting the proper referencing for you. Now, letters of recommendation are still useful, especially early in the career. If you can get letters of recommendation, it is great because they're good things to add to your application to help people see the depth and breadth of what kind of person you are. But also, what's even more important is recommendations on LinkedIn, okay? On LinkedIn, it's a known fact that the more recommendations you have on your profile, if you apply to a job through LinkedIn's portal, okay, to its clients, the more recommendations and endorsements you have on your profile, the higher you go in the list. So if you've only got 3 recommendations and somebody else has 10, they're going to rank higher than you in the algorithms. So getting a library throughout the course of time, this doesn't have to happen, this semester or by next Christmas. This is just a best practice over time with your career to make sure that you're gathering and maintaining recommendations, because now the technical term for it in industry is it's called social proof. All right. So it's proof, it's social proof that you're a good person and that you've got a good background. And again, testimonials differ from recommendations in that testimonials are used as marketing tools. So if someone, writes me a good review and there's a catchy header to the review, I'll take that catchy header to the review and I will use that in other documents like I do in here when I build my marketing tools, and I put in little testimonials that relate to the subject at hand. And you can see in the work product, the footer is there. So it looks, makes the documents look a little bit more formalized and positioned and branded appropriately. So that should help with the marketing tools. And the last piece that we want to talk about today is very seriously is your social media profiles. Okay. Again, right now, LinkedIn is really the only game in town. They're not the only game, but they're the best game in town. You need to have a LinkedIn profile. It needs to be filled out. It needs to match your resume, okay, in content, and it needs to be upgraded annually, all right? You must have a LinkedIn profile. And please put your contact information on your LinkedIn profile. Lots of people don't. And it's like, how the heck am I ever going to get a hold of you if I don't have an email or a telephone number? So people are still in that old mindset of, privacy or what have you. There's no privacy anymore. Anybody can find anything all the time. So take advantage of the opportunity to post your contact information and make it easy on other professionals to find you. Okay. Mind how you go with social media. You are aware it lives forever. You need to make sure, especially on LinkedIn, that all of your correspondences or your posting they're all professionally related. You want to really curate your feeds and do a good job of what you're putting out there and maintain a certain standard for yourself. Know what your standards are before you even walk in. If you're not comfortable with a certain subject matter entirely, then don't post it. If you're completely comfortable with the subject matter, then it's probably the truth and it's worthy of posting. So just be super cautious, because employers are definitely going out there and they're looking up your social media profiles. They just are. It's part of the screening process now. So you want to put your best foot forward there in terms of your positioning and your packaging. And then the last thing for resumes, I want to talk about resumes. Everything starts brand-wise. Resumes are ground zero for reinvention. Your name, your titles, your contact information. You should then have a profile section. A profile section tells your little story, and it's only 3 sentences long. The first sentence is who you are, in brackets right now. I'm an undergrad looking to graduate on this date. I'm studying in this program. The second sentence is something that what you've done in brackets, the past, Prior to college, I was involved in this community effort or that volunteer thing, or worked part-time at whatever, okay? And then the third sentence is what you want in brackets now. Well, if you've written up your goals, you've got your copy for that sitting right there in your career journal. So the profile is 3 sentences: who you are, what you've done in the past, and what you want in the future. And that is the toughest piece of copy you're ever going to write. But again, as I like to threaten my students, if you're going into the business of content creation, you really do need to get comfortable writing content, whether it's copy for your website, whether it's your resume, whether it's your profile statement, whether it's the about section on your LinkedIn profile. You really need to get comfortable. And the only way to do that is through trial and error. And, I remember my first profile, it was dreadful. I remember it distinctly. I have a copy in my file somewhere. But I'll tell you, through the years, I have really learned to massage it and use it to represent me in the strongest possible way. So that's a super important aspect. Resumes. There are 2 types of resumes. There's content resumes and there's visual resumes. So I'm going to briefly screen share again, and I'm going to take you to a content resume. This is my resume, okay? You can take a screenshot of this if you like, don't be shy. And you can see right away, here's my name, here's what I do, here's how to find me, here's my little story, here's my skills and knowledge, here are my technology skills, my platforms and my apps, and my languages. And then the content goes through, I happen to have a book, so I put it on there. But it just basically goes in reverse chronological order. Notice I add in digital hot links to the companies, old or the existing. I add in hot links if they want to go and have a look at what these pieces were. I add my education and my upskilling. I used to call this education and professional development, but now I know employers are looking for employees to upskill. So I'm using the term education upskilling here. Next section is volunteer or public service that I might have done. Featured media. This is part of your marketing tools. You might not have any right now, but you will in future. So these are all like, podcasts or YouTube videos that I've done, or just content that I've cranked out through the years. And then there's all my speaking engagements and training workshops. And don't be overwhelmed by this, okay? I want you to, like, it does look impressive and that's fun and that's cool. However, if you look at the dates, it took me 20 years to do it, to get that list together, okay? So just build on your CV in an annual way, add your new stuff, update your stuff, and that will help you get the basic message across. Now, I want to show you the difference between this quote unquote content resume and what I refer to as a visual resume, okay? A content resume goes in a Z format. The person reads from left to right, drops down a little bit, left to right, drops down a little bit, left to right. This thing is in an F format, okay? It's the same information. It's just laid out in a way cooler way, way more engaging way. This is a visual resume, okay? All the same stuff, just looks better. The problem is artificial intelligence cannot read this resume, this visual resume. Artificial intelligence is still extremely young as an application, and it reads this kind of resume, the content resume, much more capably. So if you're going through an applicant tracking system or an internet portal, this is the kind of resume that you want to send in. Whereas if you're going straight to a hiring manager, I would have a visual resume to impress them with. They're more entertaining, they're more memorable. They tend to get you more than that 8 seconds of attention that they say you get, even though now you really actually only get 6 seconds of attention for your resume. So those are all certain things that you should be keeping track of that will help you manage your self-branding and help you build your own personal brand, or at least start establishing a small personal brand, and then you can grow it organically over time. Any major questions in the thread about marketing?
Well, maybe we have a bunch of questions that we're going to get to. First off, you talked about AI. How prevalent is that now in the hiring process? How many employers are actually using that?
Oh, excellent. Thank you. Artificial intelligence is used, well, 2 years ago, it was used about 20% of the time. And it was only medium and large companies, or it was only large companies back then that could actually afford AI. Now, 62% of employers, medium-sized employers and large employers, 62% of them are using AI, and it's not going anywhere soon, okay? Everyone is using it. And everyone also knows that it's doing a lousier job than it is doing a good job because of formatting issues. And, it's not yet intuitive, and we don't know who's programming on the other end, and we don't know which executives are guiding the programming of those systems, or is it HR and has it been bias checked and all of that good stuff. AI, we're just at the beginning of the game. So I really recommend doing job search, job search research and job search strategy, which we're going to talk about today at length. as opposed to going through internet portals. But let's face it, most of the new market entrants are going to be faced with artificial intelligence and internet portals. And so it's best to get really good at them, create that content CV, have a pro go over it, you know, and then take it from there.
Okay, we've got a bunch of questions here. I'm going to try to wrap 3 of them together because they have a very similar theme.
Sure.
What about those who are changing careers in their 40s and 50s? Another question is, what's your tip for someone who was already in the 3rd phase of their career and changed countries and started their career from scratch? And then finally, about folks who have been out of the workload or workforce for years. So maybe you can tie all those together for people that are coming into this business, you know, without as much experience in the business.
Okay, let's talk about the transition, the 40 or 50-year-old transition, okay? Excuse me. You can transition at any age or stage of your life, okay? When I'm 65, I am launching a new career for myself, okay? I'm 3 years away from it. I'm going to be launching a new career, all right? And when I'm 70, I'm going to launch an even different one because it's part of my plan. You can transition at any point. And, you know, they say, like, they talk to you about transitional skills, okay? It's not about transitional skills, although they're helpful. It's about transitional knowledge, okay? You might work in the business affairs department of a broadcast company, so you know how to vet contracts. That's a hard skill, okay? But all of the knowledge, all of the policy requirements around doing that job, that's knowledge, okay? So when you're transitioning, you just need a good coach to sit with you and figure out your skills and also figure out your knowledge areas, because it's the knowledge areas that are actually going to help you transition. It's the knowledge that you're going to sell to the new company. And all you have to do is find a way to sell it to them. A coach will help you with that. A person who's been out of the workforce for a year, first of all, right now, gaps on resumes, they don't matter anymore. The playing field has been leveled since COVID-19, and there are gaps on absolutely everybody's portfolios right now, okay? So don't worry about it. All you got to do to be prepared to address that is just think, what did I do during the pandemic when I wasn't working to help me become more, to increase my employability, okay? Like for myself, as soon as the pandemic hit, I made a firm commitment. I was going to study search engine optimization and e-commerce from June of 2020 until the end of the year. So I could get that onto my resume, so I could have the knowledge of it, okay, to go out there and do business. So having a gap is not a big deal. Just write down, you know, from this period to this period, this is what I did, you know, professional development, or, you know, I tried some new courses, or I wrote a screenplay or whatever. Just write it down. And then for the person who is quote unquote starting from scratch here in Canada, okay, I feel for you. You know, there is this real, I think it's a myth where everyone who comes to Canada thinks that all Canadian employers want is you have to have Canadian experience to get a job here, right? Well, first of all, that's impossible. You can't have the experience because you haven't been here. That's all there is to it. But to negate the 30 years of work experience that you had in your country of origin is so undeserving. Like, why would you do that to yourself? Like, own your history and get up there and say, yeah, you know, back in India or back in Croatia or wherever you are, you know, I spent 10 years running a post-production facility. Well, that experience doesn't go down the drain, right? So I want you to be less humble, frankly, about your skills and experience. And I want you to stop thinking that you are starting from scratch in Canada. You might be starting the house from scratch, okay, getting a house. You might be starting from scratch with the family, okay? But you're not starting from scratch professionally. You have a beautiful portfolio behind you. Now let's just find a way to make it attractive to the companies that you want to pursue. And we're going to cover that as well in job search. Okay. Thank you. Those are such important questions.
Sorry, it just takes me a while to find my mute. I'm mesmerized by the chat because there's so much going on that I don't even know where to start. There is a lot of talk, and we have a couple more questions. I'll get to those too, but there's a lot of talk about the money factor. You know, oh, it's maybe easy to transition into a career if you have money, but if you don't necessarily have money, it makes it more difficult. And I think sometimes that is a myth. I know, and I can say it from my own personal experience, that I changed careers in my mid-30s with 4 children, and took a big chance and didn't have that financial backing. So, you know, I think what kind of advice would you give somebody in that position? Is there other ways? You know, money doesn't always equate to getting it done either. It's not always about the money.
No, it doesn't. And we really can't afford to get hung up on money because it just destroys you mentally. Like it eats away at you, you know. There are 3 or 4 or 5 different ways to make money. Get a staff job, run an entrepreneur side hustle, get a part-time survivor job just to keep money coming in the door. If you have a hobby that you're really good at, monetize it, okay? Like I monetize the work that I do with animals. I do special needs pet boarding. So I deal with all these broken, blind, deaf, incontinent, handicapped animals, and I can make a handsome buck at it, okay? Because my daytime job does not pay all of the bills, and I'm a single income earner. I have no safety hatches, and I'm house poor, all right? So finances are always going to be tough. You want to diversify your portfolio to the best that you can. You know, back end yourself during job search with a survivor gig or a monetized hobby, okay? You don't have to do it forever. Just keep the cash flow coming in. And then also about money, please remember between 5 p.m. weekdays and 8 a.m. weekdays, there isn't a darn thing you can do about money, like nothing, okay? So put that time aside for your life balance and train yourself to stop freaking out or worrying about money, okay? And then another thing to do is to create passive income, okay? Like I did with my career journals, you know, I did a social media marketing boot camp back in 2011. Surprisingly strong program. I went back through it a couple of weeks ago. It's still quite relevant. And the notes I took from that, I have sold to other people countless times for good price tags. So developing passive income streams is really a worthwhile practice.
Yeah, I totally agree. And always the plan B, no matter what job you have, you should always have a plan B.
Okay. You always got to have a plan B. I just saw one person's comment. I just want to get to that. Then I want to move on to job search because there's a lot of material there. But Dan, when we're done, if you can give me a printout of the chat or send me a printout of the chat, whatever the case is, I will be sure to address everybody's questions. Okay, because I don't want to miss anybody. Now, someone
Awesome.
in here is
Go ahead.
referencing neurodivergence. Okay, all right. Bet you're not ready for this. I am diagnosed chronic post-traumatic stress disorder. And I also have ADHD, which is why I have trouble flipping from things. Okay. The CPTSD portion is actually brain damage. All right. Now, did I know all this early in my career? No, I wish I did, because I would have been able to go a lot easier on myself, and I would have been able to get resources to help me, but it just, the topics, the subjects weren't that developed back then. Okay. But you can put lots of resources into play with neurodivergence. Okay. I would tilt you towards functional medicine practitioners, Ontario. That's a Google search. Functional medicine practitioners. There are different, for ADHD, there is EMDR therapy that is known to be really good. And there's another couple that aren't coming to mind with me right now, but there are resources to help you with that. And if you want to contact me separately, I can give you a stronger menu of some of the resources that I have used to overcome my handicap. Okay. Why do you think I'm so crazy about taking notes? Okay. It's because my brain will not absorb it unless I do write it down. It's just part of a learning disability. Right. But I'm also a tremendous fan of neuroplasticity, and you would never believe how much I cram into this brain. Okay. I just got to do it the hard way. All right, let's do job search. Now, when you're in job search, okay, you're always thinking of it in terms of, yeah, I'm in job search. No, you're not. Job search breaks into two different categories: job search research and job search strategy. Okay. Now, I am going to attempt to share again. And this one's Excel, and it better just be open. Yay, there we go. Oh, 10 points on that one. All right, so this is my job search spreadsheet, okay? I'm sorry it's so unsexy. I know Excel really is like not, it's not a joy, but it's the only way that I have learned to actually build out my material. So what I recommend for job search is that you use this chart, okay? I have this chart as well as all the other charts that you've seen, and even more than that, in a career toolkit that is available on my website. You do have to purchase it, but you get everything in one shot, and I think it's only 25 bucks. So job search. You make a list of companies in alphabetical order that you want to pursue, okay? Now, what if you don't know who those companies are? Fair enough. You don't know the industry yet, you're new to it. So what you do is you go to the association that guides that industry, okay? So in production in Canada, it would be the Canadian Media Producers Association. For marketing skills, it would be the Canadian Marketing Association, the Canadian Engineering Association, and so on and so on. If you go look up those associations and you look at who advertises on those associations and who partners with those associations for conferences or community initiatives, well, that's your new shopping list for jobs. That's where you find the companies. Okay. So, and if you don't know where they are in media, I got a list of that too in the career toolkit. So you list the companies that you want to pursue, you research the companies you want to pursue, and then you list them in alphabetical order. The reason you want them in alphabetical order is for that magic day when this thing rings and it says Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, you go immediately to the part of the list for the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, and you have all the information sitting right there that you need to take that call and do a good job of it. Okay. Now, these companies split into two different groups: companies you would die and go to heaven to work with, and then other companies that you're just interested in. Okay. Get all your practice on the companies that you're just interested in. Another huge mistake in job search, and I should put that one in the next edition of the book if I go that far, is people go after their A targets first, but they don't have any practice yet, and they're not well rehearsed, and they're just kind of like, being reactive and throwing stuff at the wall and hoping something sticks. Why wouldn't you practice on a bunch of companies you don't care about and then go after your targets once you got a little bit more polish? So with my students, I give them an assignment right early in the term when I'm working with them. And I say, this week, I want you to fill out the job search spreadsheet, and I want you to find 12 different health centers that you want to apply to. And they say to me, well, but I don't want to work in health. And I'm like, exactly. Okay. So get your practice researching. And then once you go to target your companies, you'll be better at it. So we list the companies in alphabetical order, and then everybody can see this list, correct? Okay. Then you want to go and research the company mandate. Just go to the website, find out exactly what service or product they're offering, to whom, and why. And just make 3 little notes there. They're making factual television for kids, and it's educational. Great. All right. Now it's in the spreadsheet. Again, when they call, you'll remember right away exactly what they've done. Or you do some more research on them. You read their recent news releases. That is one trick and a half, man. Read those news releases. And it says, in 2021, they got an award for je ne sais quoi. 2021, award for whatever. Okay. Someone calls you from there and you can say, oh my God, Chorus or CBC, delighted to hear from you. How long, you start the conversation, and then you congratulate them on the award that they got this year. They love stuff like that. It makes you knowledgeable. It makes you relatable. Okay. Then you go on to LinkedIn for the third field and you look up the decision makers. You go to LinkedIn in the search bar and you type in Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, okay? Or CTV. Let's use CTV, it's a bit smaller example. So or Rogers Media, you put in Rogers Media, comma, communications. And it will give you a list of people who work in communications at Rogers. So you get their full names and their titles, and you put them on your spreadsheet. So now you're starting to build your knowledge of the team even better. So you've the first column, you're building your knowledge of the industry. The second column, you're busy building your knowledge about the mandates. And the third column, you're busy building your knowledge about the decision makers. Nothing but good news here. Okay. Then you carry on. Obviously, their contact information is important, but I'm going to skip past that right now. And we're going to go to the next step of your job search research. And that is making your business case. Why would they hire me? Why now? What role? And why this company? Now, the first 2 are going to stay relatively the same for each company. You're offering the same why me and why now. Okay. But why this role and why this company will probably change for each company. So you just make your little notes and you have them sitting there ready and waiting for you. All right, your research is done. Now let me tell you, you go in and do this for one company. I guarantee you it won't take you any more than 10 minutes to get the mandate, get some decision makers. And so 5 minutes for that, and then 5 minutes to write up your business case. Boom, you are 80% more prepared than your peers in the marketplace. 80% better prepared to take that call. Where's that going to leave you? It's going to leave you having actual confidence, but even better, the person on the other end is going to have confidence in you because you sound like you know what you're doing. Okay. Now, job search strategy is a hilarious thing for me. I'm sorry, it's just one of the things, I call it my brain candy. It's one of the ways that I have the most fun in all of the work that I do, okay? I like to use the expression, and I mean it. If I had to get the Queen of England on the telephone and I had a business imperative that was really important to me, that made sense, and I had a business case, okay, I'd get her on the phone. And when I got her on the phone, I'd keep her on the phone because I made sense, because I prepared, and it applies to her because I've done my research. All right, that's my brain candy. My job is to be smarter than anybody in the room when it comes to planning for careers. All right, and I am pretty sharp at it. So when you get to this point, you've got, your basic spreadsheet filled out. The last column is where we're going to actually have the most fun. Okay. You plan your marketing touchdowns. Okay. In order to go from stranger to known entity. All right. I'm invited to make a presentation to a certain group of people. Dan is in attendance. Dan contacts me after the seminar. We have a chat. We talk about Algonquin, what his needs might be. I respond to him after that by email saying, well, this is kind of, what I've got in mind. Dan circles back and says, yeah, let's have a call about that and just tighten it up. Boom, right there. We're no longer strangers. Okay. Marketing touchdowns are a series of outreach that you do. And while we're at it, okay, you should be doing marketing touchdowns with absolutely everybody in your social circle all of the time. All right. You have to, you have knowledge equity within the context of your career. You also should have social equity. And this spreadsheet helps you identify the people in your social circle here in that column number 3, and it helps you stay in touch with them, marketing touchdowns, for all the right reasons, because you've got a business case and you adjust your business case as you go along. So I would venture, if you get a spreadsheet like this going and you've got 12 different companies that you're really strategically working over a 3-month period, you're quite likely to get that job. Okay? Because you've done your homework, you know what you're doing, the decision maker knows you know what you're doing, like what's not to like here. And again, it's 10 minutes worth of 15 minutes worth of work maximum on each company. All right, so it's not hard to do, and it is a guaranteed competitive edge. Okay. There are 10 ways to boss a job search. Let's do them very briefly. I'm just going to give you the highlights of job search. I'm just referencing my book here. Okay, it's called How to Access the Hidden Job Market. All right. The hidden job market is made up of all of the jobs that do not get posted on internet portals and cultural organizations and on websites, like Media Job Search Canada. There's all kinds of jobs that are available that never make it to the internet. That's the hidden job market. That's what we're using this spreadsheet to go after. Okay. So, how to access the hidden job market. There's 10 different ways to actually boss your job search. Okay. The first one is going out and trolling for jobs on the internet. That is the least effective method. I mean, it's good, you'll find jobs, but it's not as powerful as the rest of the stuff I'm going to tell you. So trolling the net for jobs is one way to go. Setting up Google alerts is much better if you set up Google alerts for whatever kind of job you're looking for. Then they come to your desktop, so you're not spending anywhere near as much time doing research. So there's trolling for jobs is number one. Setting up Google alerts is number two. Number three is going through your job search spreadsheet, okay, identifying the companies that you want to pursue, and then go in and bookmark their HR pages. Okay, so that's the third best way to do things, is bookmark those pages and train yourself once a week between Monday and Wednesday to just go in and refresh them and see what jobs are new. The next best way is to maintain this very contact sheet that you're looking at right now, the one that we've been working with. That's going to help you build your knowledge, plot and plan your marketing touchdowns, and generally have much better control over your job search. The fifth way to job search is to ask friends and colleagues to make a point of finding out if any jobs are coming up in your area in their company. Now, excuse me, this is not a soft ask. This is not a favor, okay? This is a genuine, authentic, heartfelt request for your nearest and dearest to go into their companies and have a look in the area that you want to work in and see if there are any jobs coming up in it. It's a hard ask. Don't be afraid to make it. True friends, true colleagues, they will do that for you. Number 6 in job search is join LinkedIn groups. I didn't realize I was doing this back in the day, but when I was recruiting, I joined about 35 or 40 different groups on LinkedIn that were all media related. And now all these years later, the combination of people in those groups helps me or makes me, allows me to reach 2.4 million people with my marketing. Join those groups, participate, they're worth their weight in gold. Social equity. Networking is number 7. You have to network. And you got to get over whatever it is that makes you nervous about networking. You have to get over that, okay? All you're doing is going out into the industry and making new friends. And everyone knows you cannot get a job in isolation. So even if you're a shy or very reticent person, get a buddy like me and I'll introduce you to whoever you need to know, okay? Get others to introduce you to people so it makes it a little less socially awkward. But then you got to get in there and you got to do it anyway, and you got to practice, okay? Because networking is really, hands down, the best way to get a job. Another way, number 9, is to get second-party referrals, okay? This is going to happen to you, and I want you to outwit the situation, okay? Someone's going to say to you, oh yeah, you should talk to so-and-so over at whatever, the CBC. And so you make a mental note, right? But like you're eons away from knowing this person, right? Or being able to reach out comfortably. So you just ask the person who had the good idea, just say to them, oh, do you know this person? Could you make a second party referral for me? Or I call it a second party referral. You could just say, could you give me a written referral? Like, could you introduce us by email? Would that be possible? The answer is either going to be yes or no. Okay. But ask it. Don't neglect to ask for that. Because people who are saying, oh, you should talk to so-and-so over at whatever, basically that's lip service. So get them to action it where you can. And if they're solid professionals, they will. Okay. And then, so that kind of takes care of the 10 best ways to look for a job. You really do need, going back to this job search spreadsheet, okay? I really want to encourage you to use this as a repository for all of your information on the industry, okay? Back in the day, well, we're talking like 15 years ago, when I first started my company, I had 45 pages of this at a 9 font in 5 different sectors. I had cultural sector, advertising, post-production, animation, and television. Can you imagine that? Why do you think I called my company Media Intelligence? Because I built my industry knowledge. And part of that is by just using this spreadsheet, okay? Listing the companies, finding out what their mandate is, get to know who those stakeholders are. Let's get some introductions to those stakeholders. Let's plan our business case, and then let's plan our approach. And if you go to all that trouble, surely you will be recognized for it. Because as I mentioned earlier, 80% of the job seekers out there are just not doing that good a job. All right. So this will really help you. And I want you to sort of consider it a lifelong hobby to continue building your knowledge about your industry. Because the more you know, the more you make. And that's all there is to it. Okay. The more you know about your industry, the more money you can make. So lifelong learning is important, but also industry knowledge is incredibly important. So that covers the job search research and the job search strategy portion. So, and we're just at the 1.5 hour mark. So why don't we just get into some good questions if we've got some out there?
Yeah, we have so many. I don't even know where to start. We really
lay them on me.
we should wrap up. You know, we had banked for about 1.5 hours. We're a little bit over that now.
Mhm.
Maybe you could just have a quick look through the question and answers. Can you see
Yep,
those, Michelle?
absolutely.
And maybe just kind of give some like very quick answers.
Yep.
We can start with finding a mentor. I think actually you've answered that in some of what you've been talking about on the job search. I mean,
finding a mentor is yeah. If you can cue me, Dan, because I'm reading and processing while I'm trying to answer. Finding a mentor. If you're doing your industry research and you're working that spreadsheet, okay, and you're looking at those companies and you're looking at those associations, you are going to find executives that you really relate to and that you really admire. They are the ones that you want for mentoring. You either want an executive or a senior manager for mentoring, or you have a colleague who's at your level, but who knows 8 times more than you by chance or by good luck. And so then you become learning partners with that person, and you establish a relationship where you can turn to each other for information about the industry. Okay, independent audio creator versus I make audio stories.
They were talking about what could be your signature. Is it better to say in your signature, I make audio stories, or is it better to be labeled as an audio creator?
I say audio creator all the way. Having a tagline, I make great audio stories, is absolutely fine, but the functional specialty is audio creator.
There's another question in the question and answer about, you know, I guess when it comes time for salary, and it's trying not to sell yourself short, but at the same time landing the job. So what do you suggest there when it comes time to talk about money?
All right. You need to learn to, you have to prepare for the discussion. You have to have the discussion, And then you've got to make it a win-win. Okay. You need to understand the concept of fair market value. All right. What's appropriate. You need to factor in, are they asking for 5 years experience? Are they asking for 10? Are they asking for 15? 5 years experience is going to be the lower end of the range. Mid-management, middle range, senior management, top end of the range. You can always ask them when they bring up how much money do you want, you say to them, can you share with me what range you've assigned to this position? And you are signaling range, not figure. Don't go in with, well, I need 40,000 to live. Well, that's all they're going to give you. Okay. I have 5 years experience and I'm currently operating between 45 and 55,000. Okay. Now I've got a range. The employer has options. Okay. Now you do need to do research. There are price tags that go with certain jobs. All right. And need to do research, but you also need to be prepared in that if you're a freelancer, you got to know your day rate. Like, what's your day rate, right? How much money do you think you should make for a day? How much are your peers making for a day doing the same function? You also should know what that thing translates to on a weekly basis, because when it comes time for the screening call, they're going to ask you for your salary or your day rate or your weekly rate. And you need to have that stuff at the tip of your hat, at the tip of your fingers. Okay. So, or at the tip of your tongue. So, so be prepared with that. There's a whole section in my book called Interview Best Practices and Hire Negotiations. Okay. And it walks you through that in depth. And you can always feel free to reach out to me for quick ad hoc questions. And, I'm happy to answer them.
Well, I think we're probably going to have to leave it at there, to respect everybody's time. Thank you so much for this. I know that we are recording it. I know there are some people that, at times are saying that you're talking so fast and you had so much information that it was hard for them to actually write it all down. So I would also say too that, Michelle, has been doing a very soft sell on her book. And if you're thinking, this is like one of those books that costs a fortune, it's literally, the cost of taking your friend out to Starbucks. You could actually buy a book for that price. I think it's around $8. So as a ebook. And great investment for you in your career in the media. So maybe what we'll do, Michelle, we'll try to answer some of those questions, and we will be sending out an email to everyone that participated in today and give them some more information, contact information for Michelle if they haven't already been able to figure all of that out, and maybe some sort of answers to a couple of the questions that we maybe didn't get to this afternoon.
Oh, I'd be absolutely delighted to, Dan. Just give them to me and I'll whip them up for you and get them back out, and you can circulate them to the students. Also, yes, I do speak very quickly and there's a lot of material there, but I want you to have everything that you possibly can to be successful out there. Okay, so go rewatch the recording and get that information into your heads, and contact me if you need any help.
Thanks so much. So I also have to thank some of the media studies support team that helped make this happen. Sean McMahon, who's in the marketing department, helped out with the webinar, and Darlene and Sarah have been helping with all the organizing too. We couldn't have done it without all of their help. So thank you very much. We appreciate it. So thanks everybody for attending. And thank you, Michelle, for being here with us this afternoon. I hope everyone got something out of it, and go on and make that job pitch. All right. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye now.